The whole season overall, we've learned a lot more about Blaine and kind of what motivates him and where he's coming from. I must imagine that's got to be great for you to just get so many reasons and understanding of his motivations at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun digging deeper into Blaine's backstory and finding out why he is who he is. The daddy issues, the many generations of daddy issues that go through his family. And of course, playing with Robert Knepper has just been an absolute joy. But yeah, I think it's important to round out any character you're playing on TV, and that's the second season's been about that for Blaine.
And last week was interesting because there was kind of there's a back and forth. Because we thought, oh, it was the end of Robert Knepper's time on the show, but then we learned a little bit more about what was going on with Major. So can you talk about moving forward right now? I mean, right now for Blaine, his dad won't be around, so what does he think? Obviously, as much as he had issues with his dad, is he going to be looking into what's going on more?
Yeah, I actually don't know the answer to that question. Yeah, the last thing that I know about Angus is him being thrown in that freezer. So, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if the power's going to go off at Major's little storage unit where he has his freezer and all those zombies are going to come back to life. Yeah, I really don't know. Yeah, I wish I could extrapolate.
There was a really great, I say great because it was very powerful, what happened with his grandfather.
Yeah.
Great sort of villain moment because he was doing something horrible, but not in a, triumphant way at all. Yeah. And then even his reasons for doing that were kind of undercut. So How much is that affecting him moving forward?
Yeah, that was a bummer, man, right? It seemed like a masterstroke of a bad guy genius to feed the brain of your grandfather to your father to let him know how that felt, what that was about, what you did to him, and then cut to. So yeah, that was a fun thing to play with, but it was a heavy scene, like killing his grandfather, who Blaine obviously loved. But you have to look at it too. Well, I was looking at it as David, like. Like, his grandfather was on his last leg, so he was kind of putting him out of his misery.
Right.
And then, like, killing two birds with one stone. It's like, feeding his brains to your dad? Perfect.
Why not? Can you talk about, at this point, as we are learning more about him, people start to wonder, could he be redeemed? But for you, as the guy playing him, would you want to see that, or do you like keeping him a villain who is still a multifaceted character who we're learning more about?
I mean, yeah, I do know some things down the line that are going to shake up the fabric of the show and the fabric of Blaine. But yeah, of course, I love, twisting my mustache and doing the prototypical bad guy stuff. It's something I've grown quite accustomed to, something I think I've perfected. So I do love doing that, but of course, as going back to what we said earlier, playing a more well-rounded character with many different hues and colors is always a fun challenge and rewarding in its own right.
There are now a few villains in play on this show. You first and foremost, but now obviously Vondu Clark sort of more and more causing problems. And now last week we just met Mr. Boss. Yeah. So, might some of this all start to collide a bit, and maybe because there are these other threats that might make for some strange bedfellows?
Yeah, man, I've been pushing for some screen time with Steven Weber. I think Blaine and Vaughn together in a room would be fantastic, and I've just idolized him ever since I was a kid, watching him on Wings. And I just think he makes the best choices as an actor, and I think I make some fun choices too. So just a couple dudes chewing scenery together, I'd like to see it. The walls in that room don't stand a chance. I love to work with Eddie too. Eddie's a fantastic. They went so far away from type. You just in all the talk of Mr. Boss, you would have just assumed he was this heavy, and it's a fun thing.
So unassuming.
Eddie doing it, yeah.
What do you think at this point Blaine makes of Liv? You know, does he have grudging respect for her, or does he just sort of hate the approach she's taken the whole time?
He enjoys Liv, and he wishes she had you know, a couple more chinks in her moral high ground and her morality, and would you know, dip into the dark side a little more. But yeah, he enjoys her, and he knows that she hates him. So I think, and he's always taking the piss. You know what I mean? He's always just throwing stuff at her just to see how she reacts.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I wish Rose and I had more scenes together, because she's just delightful to work with, and just a delightful person and a dear friend. So, in this next episode coming up tomorrow, you'll see a lot of scenes between Blaine and Liv.